I'm Sharon Barnes-Waters, and welcome to CityViews, the show about people, places, and things that make New York great. Well, we're continuing our series about each borough, the kinds of programs and initiatives that's going on there, what makes them special and great. So guess what? Today, we go to Queens. Yes, Queens. And we're going to be sitting down with Borough President Melinda Katz. Welcome, Melinda.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. So you are a Queens girl, born and raised in Forest Hills, and you've held a number of key governmental positions before becoming the 19th borough president to 2.3 million people. Wow. That's more than some countries.
It is much larger than many countries. And,
wow.
You know, we love it. I mean, Queens is just hopping, right? People want to come and live and play and spend their money there and make their money there, and that's a great thing. But we pride ourselves in being a borough of families. You know, we always say what's good for families is good for Queens, because, you know, job creation, workforce development, education, bringing your families. And we also pride ourselves in today's political climate. It's important to say we also pride ourselves on the diversity of our borough. We are literally the most diverse area on the planet. We are 130 languages. We're 120 countries. You go to civic associations and police precinct councils and formal meetings, and people sitting next to you are from halfway around the world from where you originally came from and now are both in the borough of Queens. And what's amazing is 49% of our borough is born outside the United States of America.
Wow.
And, you know, they come to Queens and
they love it.
At our core, we all want the same thing, right? At our core, we all want a better life for our family, however we define that. It is a beautiful thing. We all want a better life for our family than we ever dreamed of having for ourselves.
Well, I'm going to talk about something you said from your State of the Borough address earlier this year. That was fascinating. You said, when I became borough president, folks said to me, Melinda, create jobs, increase tourism, spur growth. Oh, and by the way, make it affordable. So that was quite a challenge to you. That was quite a challenge. So let's start with some of the creating jobs.
It is a huge challenge to make Queens, you know, the beautiful, great tourism place that it is, but still remaining affordable for families, right? And so creation of jobs is extremely important. Take Southeast Queens or Jamaica, right? We came in and with the administration, we worked with them to make sure that we focus and put all the stakeholders that are involved in Jamaica Queens at the table, right? We didn't want government to come in and say, this is what you need, right? We wanted to make sure that the stakeholders were there. And so we created jobs, $153 million investment in the area of Jamaica Queens, but we coordinated that with Link NYC going on the streets of Jamaica Queens, right? So now, if you have Wi-Fi, you can have Wi-Fi no matter what. And it was one of the first neighborhoods in the entire city of New York to have that. You also need education so that we are training our graduates to get jobs, right? Technology industry is really one of the greatest examples. You know, if you switch from Jamaica to Long Island City, you know, we are a tech-created area in Long Island City, and it's organically growing, but we're trying to guide it.
Yeah, I was saying it's booming.
It's booming.
I know you know every part of Queens, but Long Island City.
It's booming. It's a whole new skyline. Look, I remember when Citicorp went up, and everybody was like, oh, buildings are going to come, they're going to grow around it. It never happened, right? But over the last few years, it has happened. But with that, we are creating an area that's growing in the technology. We have Cornell Tech right across the river on Roosevelt Island. We have all of the schools. LaGuardia College has now a tech program. And you have all these high-paying jobs that we need people to fill. That we're not training people quick enough.
You need people to fill jobs.
We're not training people quick enough to take those jobs. And it's part of the reason, by the way, that we are making a full-fledged play to get Amazon in Long Island City.
Headquarters.
It's a great place for them. We have the workforce that is there, and it's being trained. And we do think it'll be a great place for Amazon to come in. So if they're
the skyline alone.
Yes.
The ferry service. It's easy access.
The five-borough ferry service has been a boom to the borough of Queens, right? The Rockaways, which is one of the most underdeveloped and most beautiful places in the world, has a ferry.
I grew up going there.
It's amazing. No, it's a great place. And you can get from downtown Manhattan to the Rockaways in like a half hour, right? And so, but what that means to me as the borough president is that companies now feel comfortable developing there, right? Having a anchor tenant come into the Rockaways because it's a 5-borough ferry. And so by making it one of the legs, it's permanent.
Yeah.
And you can't really just get rid of it on a whim. Like this mayor did it, but the next mayor may not want it. But you can't really get rid of it on a whim.
No. And we talk about affordability of living in Queens and owning your own home or being able to rent. How is housing in Queens, both renting and home ownership? Is it still attainable?
It's rough. Affordable housing is one of the most sought after commodities in the borough of Queens. And you know, everyone talks about affordable housing, but the truth of the matter is, if you can't afford it, it's not affordable to you.
Right.
And you know, it's we are building apartments at a record rate. As you know, the mayor has instituted his affordable housing MIH DQA, so that when a developer rezones to create larger housing, they have to put in 30% affordable. I used to do that as chair of the land use committee and negotiate it each time, but now it's permanent. And so we are building apartments and housing as fast as we can. But the one thing we're doing is also making it better for families, I think, right? So we're creating senior housing too, because you know, seniors want to live close to where their families are. Number one, it's the right thing to do. You know, you become a senior and all of a sudden you're expected to move across the city to live in an affordable location. You should be able to stay at home.
Right there.
But even as important, a lot of our grandparents in Queens are raising their grandchildren so the children can go out and work. Right? Daycare is so expensive.
It's very hard.
And babysitters are so expensive. And we need our parents to be able to join the economy and really go out and work. And I would say pre-K has helped that, right? Because now 4-year-olds have full day pre-K.
Pre-K, yeah.
Right? It's not half day, right?
Yeah.
You could drop your child off and
you
2 hours
work
later,
and go and get
him.
Hold on, Mr. Boss.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Gotta go.
You know, you don't mind, do you? And so it became a real problem. And I would say the 4-year pre-K was an extremely great boom. But also having grandparents live close to their grandchildren so that the children can go out at work has been an amazing acknowledgement by government. Right? Yeah. That the grandparents are really involved. And with a lot of families coming here from across the world, the families want to remain intact.
Right.
And so that has been a great boom.
And you have a great story because you are raising your children in the home that you grew up in, that your parents bought over 50 years ago. That must feel so great to you.
In 1953, my family bought this house in Forest Hills, and they moved from Jackson Heights. It was a huge move, right? From Jackson Heights to Forest Hills. And they met at Juilliard. My father came from Mishawaka, Indiana. My mother came from Winnipeg, Manitoba. She was a singer in the USO during World War II. Yes, I'm older.
Wow.
You know, they moved to Forest Hills, and I have kept the house. I'm raising my 2 boys, 6 and 9, in the same bedroom that I was raised in. As I always say, they tell me I have a double ARP card and a 6-year-old, as I always say. But they tell me off from the same ledge in the same bedroom that I used to tell my father off from. But let me tell you, these days it's a very different reaction.
It's different, yes, yeah.
So I'm very, very lucky.
So home ownership is still a possibility?
Home ownership has to be a possibility for our families. Yeah. It's got to be part of the American dream. Yeah. It always has been, and it should always stay that way. And when you see 49% of our borough that are born outside the United States of America, it means to me that folks all over the world know that that American dream still survives in Queens. And it's happening, right? With the affordable housing that's being built now, with the programs by the federal government, by the state, by the city, hopefully they stay in the federal government, you know, people are able to attain it. But we need to work and coordinate to make that happen, right? In Queens and in New York City, homelessness is a huge issue and a growing issue. And it's not about just finding a home. It's about making sure that the children stay close to their schools, because you can't be uprooted from your home and from your school and all your friends, and your grandparents help because they're in the neighborhood. It's a formula that doesn't work. We need to create shelters near people's homes where they're living, but we also need to create inventory for affordable housing.
And I just want to go backtrack a little bit about, you talked about Amazon. Why is Queens a great place to start a business, a mom and pop store, a restaurant? Why is it Queens an ideal place to start any business?
Because every neighborhood in Queens is so unique, right? We are the only borough in the entire city of New York that still says, I am from Jamaica, New York. I am from Forest Hills, New York. I'm from Bayside, New York, or Douglaston, New York. We don't actually say we're from Queens, New York on the return limit. So for those of us old enough to still write thank you notes, right? When we have return addresses on our label, we say the neighborhood and New York City. So that means that when you start a business, you really are able to go into any community and it will be a world of difference just crossing the street. And by the way, we thrive on that, right? We thrive on the fact that you can have, you know, pasta with marinara sauce on one corner, French vinaigrette on another,
jerk chicken,
you know, jerk chicken on another, mango chutney on another, and then, you know, have bagels and cream cheese, right? In the same store that you can get mango chutney. And so we thrive on that. And so I think for small businesses, not only do in our office, we assist the small businesses so much, and we have so many bids and so many, you know, partnerships around the borough, but you can also pick and choose neighborhoods that you think will react kindly to your idea, whatever that idea is. And I think that is a great benefit for the Borough of Queens. And a lot of our small businesses are family run. You know, I went to a juice shop the other day where they actually make homemade juice in Jamaica, actually, and it was awesome. And her two sons were helping her at the machines, right? And it's just what happens in our borough.
Now, tell me about tourism, because I know you want tourists not just to come to the airport, but to stay, to see Queens. How are you bringing tourists into your borough?
So our goal is that when you land at Kennedy Airport and you see this great terrace on the park, you see the New York State Pavilion, you see the US Open, you see the Mets, that you want to come back, right? And you know, when you land at the airport and you end up on the Van Wyck Expressway for 2 hours trying to get to Manhattan, you want to make sure you see all the sights. But we are growing exponentially in tourism in Queens with 130 languages in 120 countries. People that are coming to the Borough of Queens are actually expressing themselves in their culture and their art and their dress and their religion and all of the things in their languages and all of the things that you bring with you from other countries. And so we've been working very close with the city and NYC and company to make sure that people not only go to Manhattan but also come to Queens, right? That you haven't seen New York City until you've seen the Borough of Queens. And you know, we have a lot of great cultural institutions. You know, the Hall of Science, all of the sports institutions that we have. We have all of the smaller organizations like Talia, and we have JPAC, and all of those cultural organizations. But we need to make sure that people know about them. Right? So at the same time that we are advertising citywide and making sure that people know that when they come, they can also come and partake in Queens's great culture. And Rufus King and historical cultural organizations. And
I was saying that the history of Queens, we were talking before. I did the Queens Jazz Trail many years ago, and I was totally fascinated. Totally fascinated.
People don't know that Count Basie and Lena Horne and Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong all lived in Queens. And you can actually, like you said, go on like a jazz tour of all of these great artists. And, you know, there's also artists today.
Yeah, you're telling me that.
Queens, you know, LL Cool J, Nash, 50 Cent. You know, all of them have, you know, lived in Queens and were brought up in Queens. And most importantly, were affected.
Completely influenced by Queens, by their time.
Their borough and their time, and have brought it internationally. And so all of these great tourist attractions happen in the borough. But, you know, we are part of a larger and a greater city, and there's no city greater than New York. And so for us to be able to just give part of ourselves to the greatness of the city of New York, I think is truly one of the things we're proud of. To celebrate diversity like that in an area that you hold the greatest diversity in, I think it's been a boom for the city of New York. And has brought many more tourists in.
Now that you've been borough president for a while, is there something that you really want to get accomplished that you're still on your journey trying to get accomplished for Queens?
Families will only come to Queens if we offer the best education, the best way for their grandparents to age gracefully, right? That you can get jobs for the ones working in your family. Right? They're only going to come if that happens. Part of the real problems we have in Queens is education, right? We have great institutions and great educational facilities. We are so crowded. Wow. We are the most crowded borough in the city of New York. When it comes to schools, a lot of our schools are at 115 to 120% capacity. We have children, look, the same as when I was younger, but it's a little bit different now because we've made such an effort to resolve our overcrowdedness, and we still haven't done it, right? We got trailers sitting in parking lots and in parks that were supposed to be temporary. They're 40 years old, right? They're rusting, the metal is rusting. You can sometimes knock a hole right through the wall. And we've gotten rid of 40 trailers in the borough of Queens since I've been the borough president. Wow. We still have about 100 to go.
But you're making progress.
But you're making progress. But if I had to think of the one thing I would like to see is for us to get that word out internationally. That when you do visit New York City, that, like I said, you haven't seen New York until you've seen the borough of Queens. And what we do is we create this cultural area of the city of New York that is just becoming to be known, right? We were the _1 destination of choice by The Lonely Planet 2 years ago. You know, so many of the blogs and the real estate journals have said that if you really want to build, and you really want to build in a place that's the next happening place, I mean, that's Queens. Yeah. And so as proud as we are to be the part of New York City, we also know that we're the place where folks are actually coming now to make the investment. And for me, the idea that people are literally sitting all over the world and working and saving and sacrificing in order to bring their kids here, I think it's an amazing accomplishment for the city that that's happening in our borough.
Well, thank you for enlightening us more about your borough. I have to say that one of the funny things for me was the Eddie Murphy movie Coming to America.
Yes.
Where does the king want to find a wife? Queens,
right, of course. And he does.
And he does.
Of course.
He does. So Queens offers that too. You can find a bride.
You can find a bride.
You can find a bride in Queens.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy really helped to put Queens on the map. I mean, we forget that was like 20, 30 years ago, that movie now. I mean, in just the subway scene alone, where all of the folks are sitting on the subway, and you could just tell that it's New York, right? It's New Yorkers, right? All this is happening, nobody pays attention, right?
You keep seeing that. I mean, they play that Coming to America time and time again, so all generations get to see that. It's a beautiful, come to Queens.
And that McDowell's is actually on Queens Boulevard. And, you know, it brings up the other issue where we are filming so many new shows and movies in the borough of Queens, too. We're really becoming the Hollywood of the East Coast. Wow. And I would say that Hollywood is the Queens of the West Coast. You know, because we have Silver Cup and Kaufman Studios, and now Broadway Stages has a location in Queens. And, you know, it's interesting to me, right, because I went on the set of Blue Bloods the other day, and they were filming right in the borough, right in my neighborhood. So the set of Blue Bloods, and they understand that Queens has a lot to offer, right? You can go to Russia, you can go to Germany, you can go to Uzbekistan, and you can stay right in the borough, right? But they can find all those cultures and all of the architecture right there. But, you know, I've had the privilege of going to sets like Madam Secretary and Blue Bloods and Sesame Street, and, you know, that's also filmed in Queens. And the tax that the council did in order for folks to film movies and TV here has really been a great boom to the economy of New York City, but especially to the Queens, right, where we have all of these studios that are there. We have a huge open air studio, outside studio, that folks can come and they can do bombing scenes and all of these different scenes. And those, that filming has caused a lot of attention to the borough as well. And people like it filming there. Our streets are welcome to it. And it's been quite an experience to have that happen. Wow. Haven't met Tom Selleck yet. I'm looking forward to that.
Let's That's right.
But you know, you watch the show and you can see all of the different locations that, like, I grew up, right? He's in the local ice cream shop.
I love to see that when you go back. You can see your neighborhood.
And you can see your neighborhood, but it's really been great for job creation and also to put Queens on the map when it comes to international travel. Wow.
Well, thank you so much. 19th Queens Borough President Melinda Katz for stopping by CityViews and telling us all about Queens. She's inviting you to come visit, come live, come raise your family.
And spend all your money.
And spend all your money in Queens. Thank you for stopping by City Views.
My pleasure. Thank you.